down from 10. It's on 5 now. It says starting soon.
Yep.
Connecting. Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, I am Erica Bates. I am your host and facilitator of the Virtual Summiteers Mastermind Group, and this here is our masterclass. We have two guests, Jason and Harry, and they are the what is it? Are you guys the owners? Are you the facilitators? Are you the hosts of the Master Your Media podcast? What do you guys call yourselves?
Yes.
Yes, all of the above.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to shout out Thomas Ballard for being in the room with us
Hey,
today.
Thomas.
Hey,
Hey,
Thomas. Hey, Zakia.
Zakia. Hi.
Hey.
Okay. Well, Jason and Harry, I am going to leave the stage and I'm going to let you guys take over. Do your thing.
All right.
All right.
You know, one of the things that when Erica reached out to us to do this training, one of the questions was, well, what are we going to talk about? And
Yeah.
the main thing is we wanted to talk about the organic nature of just what can be done when you just show up and let what you do naturally come to the forefront, and you do that naturally. And so, we took a concept, and, Harry and I met years ago on a platform. We both had a platform, learning management system. And so we all met in Vegas, and we hit it off in Vegas. And then that turned into a conversation, which turned into a lot of comedy, which then turned into us jumping in on different projects together. Okay. Harry produces a Let Veterans Laughs Matter. It is a project where for one day, all the comedians come together and they put together a clean comedy set to really help veterans know that folks are caring about them, for one, and that at the time when things could get really dark, which is usually around the holiday season, and folks are taking their lives and all of that, that they
Don't make
can
me cry.
stay that. Yeah, I'm not gonna make you cry, bro, but I'm gonna tell you that when they see that there's all these comedians, and those comedians are veterans too, that they've come together and said, look, don't make that final decision on something that is temporary. We know you're going through, and we're here for you. And so what ended up happening at the end of that event, because Harry was like, if we can just save one, it'll be worth it. He got 14 people who reached out to him and said, you know what, tonight was going to be the night, and I chose not to do it after attending the event. So things like this is where just allowing the gift that you to make an impact. I believe that is what has really brought us together and caused us to do more of these things. So fast forward, Mastering Your Media came about because back in 2018, a good friend of mine, Dr. Stacy NC Grant, she said, Jason, I'm putting on an event, and I want you to come and do a training. So what would your training be? And I said, I don't know, Mastering Your Media. She goes, I love it. Let's run with it. And so 5 years ago, that's how that was born. And then that converted itself into an interview series where we would interview people who were the who's who in their spaces. And we would talk about what was your journey to success? How did you do it? And then give us the whole story. Don't just tell us all the, bells and whistles. Tell us the stuff, the struggles as well, because we wanted to normalize the journey instead of it just being like, yeah, and they live happily ever after. We wanted folks to know that you're going to go through some things. Okay. You're going to go through some things, and that's okay. And we wanted to make it not be wrong when you go through things. So the best way to do that is to tell the stories of people who are going through and still making the next steps, so we can encourage those who are listening or watching to say, okay, I am on the right track, and then taking the next step forward.
Yep.
So, yeah.
One thing Jason forgot to mention.
Talk about
Jason, the hot seat we were doing.
Oh, yes. Okay. So the hot seat, Harry, Chris, and myself, we were doing this hot seat where we would bring in business owners, and they would go through an estimate that Chris had. And as they went through it, the assessment would bring out not only strengths but opportunities on, okay, so you've got the skill set here, but this is where you need to delegate, because this right here is where you are in crisis. And so there was a few folks who came through it. Chef Shauna of Shauna's Sweet Spot, Chef Regina of Regina's Baking Academy. Okay. And then a few other people we took through the assessment. And then Harry had this idea along the way, and he was just going to do this for himself. He says, I'm going to do a personal challenge where I've got to take, in 30 days, I've got to put out 100 videos, live streams. So he went ahead and said live streams, right? So he's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do 100 videos, live streams in that 30 days. And so I said, wow, that sounds really good. I said, you know what, bro, I think I'm going to jump in on that as well. And then we turned around and encouraged the two chefs. Hey, why don't you all do that as well? So everybody is doing it. And that turned into a thing, because the stipulation, I reached out to them and said, hey, look, when you do it, don't just do the live streams to say, okay, I got it done. And okay, live stream check 100. I said, do an intentional set of live streams, at least 80%. Make them something that is of value, that has some legs to it, because you're going to be able to do something later on with it. And they went ahead and listened. And now they're still leveraging that content. We're all leveraging the content that we created 2 years ago. We still leverage it today and can polish it, repurpose it, and make it do for us various things. For one, the two chefs ended up in Food and Beverage Magazine, leveraging that content. They ended up in Faithpreneur Magazine. They've got their own thing going now, launched quite a few things, in relation to their business, doing contracts in schools and stuff like that. And now they live stream as a regular basis. It's just like they've always been doing it. For us, it has moved us into different spaces as well.
Yes.
Harry went ahead and he ended up parlaying the video, the live streams, into doing the DJ interview, where he interviews DJs from all over the world, new startups and folks who have been in the game for over 40 years. And so that all came out as a progression of these challenges, and then taking the skill set that each one of us has and then saying, okay, what can we do with this? So the premise of today's talk is, what do you have, and how can you take a concept and push it all the way to cash flow and turn it into conferences and things like that? And so you're seeing our progression in doing that now, what we got going on. All right, Harry, so what you got, bro?
Man, so to put some context in, Jason said earlier about showing up.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Like he said, we met only one time in Las Vegas.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
I still can't believe that.
To see almost 5-6 years later, and all the stuff we're doing virtually, and late nights on the phone, plotting and planning. So this virus comes around 2000. I have this idea about a DJ interviewing DJs for about 7 years. I actually created it in 2013, but never did nothing with it because of that scared fear feeling. Nobody's going to want to watch this, blah, blah, blah. I know a lot of that goes through people's head, and it went through mine. So fast forward to 2020 of April, I'm like, this virus is on, the DJs are home. What a perfect time to set this thing up. Got a couple of DJs on, and the shows, the tech wasn't as crisp as it is now. So everybody, do not worry about your tech just yet. Start getting content out there. I mean, from start. The DJ interview started June 1st of 2020. that 100 live stream personal challenge that Jason is talking about happened in, wow, this month,
Yeah.
October of 2020.
It's been 2 years.
Now, what
Literally.
prompted it is because I've been doing live streaming for a while, and I really wanted a challenge. And the only challenges was out there was 7-day challenges. I did a 30-day one, but it wasn't enough for me. So I was like, let's see if we can do 100 live streams, 31 days. October has 31 days. And as you start going, it is very difficult. I had a spreadsheet of about 120 something things that I could talk about. I have probably reached to that spreadsheet about 6 times and talked about stuff. Everything else was on the fly. And then as you go, you see your progression. And that's what we've seen in Regina and Shauna, who Jason was just talking about. And mind you, the most profound thing out of that story is both of them hated video. They absolutely hated getting on and being in front of the camera. And I know it's a lot of people out there that are like that. You know, I'm kind of shy too. I don't like being in front of the camera either. Yeah, I'm like, I love the camera. I love looking at that little white dot on my webcam or amber, whatever you have on yours. But, you know, fast forward, and that was just showing up. You know, you get times where you're doing my interview series, it's nobody watching. And in the beginning, it did bother me. Just like I'm sure it bothers other people.
Right.
But then, you know, we got to talking because I think I don't talk very well. You know, put in the chat if you think I do or think I don't. I think I trip over my words. I think I stutter. I think I pause too much. But I had a talk with Jason and our other partner, Chris Gloss. Shout out to Chris Gloss.
Hey, Chris.
And it was like, this is why people like you, because you talk the way you talk. You're not polished, and most people are not polished when they first starting. You get better along with time. Your tech gets better. Your presentations get better. Your interviews get better. Your guests get better. And that's the same thing that happened to us. We started on Clubhouse. Then we started recording Clubhouse. Then we started going live on one of our many platforms that we had, and started slowly building a community. And this is swinging around to what this whole session is about: the building of the community slowly. It doesn't happen in a weekend. You cannot put out 3 videos and expect everybody to start watching. It's not gonna happen unless, you know, you're somebody already and you just brought it online. So fast forward to now, I'm almost at my 100 episode of DJ interview.
It's amazing.
Which is so dope to me. Put in the chat if you think that's dope. Me and Jason, we have our show. It's been airing on the radio for what did we say last night? 3 months?
It's almost 3 months. And next week, the next week or the week after will make 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is all we have.
And we didn't even have it set up that we were going to hit the radio this early. It was something that happened.
Not at all. Not at all. It wasn't set up to be like that because we talk long. Some of our interviews are, what's the longest one we had? Maybe 4 hours.
Yeah.
And now we got a 90-minute spot on the radio. Yes, Thomas, we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
We got a 90-minute spot. So the previous interviews were not like that. So now the interviews, we're setting it up to where we fall within that 90-minute mark. But this doesn't happen if we don't start to build. Yes, you go through hard times. You go through, the tech gods sometime are not with you. I seen Jason glitch a second earlier. Sometimes the tech gods are not with you. Your cameras don't work. You just don't feel like it. And you have to push through all of that to say, I said I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do this whether anybody else shows up or not. And me and Jason have such a dynamic because, and we talk about it all the time, he comes from a higher level of explaining and advising. I come from a solopreneur level. So I kind of bring him down to my level at times because a lot of us here are solopreneurs. We're not Fortune 500 companies. So our dynamic, sometimes I need a dictionary for when Jason is talking. Sometimes, use your smaller words, Jason, so everybody else can understand. But we have such a dynamic and it just works for us. We interview so many different peoples. Yeah, one of my words, right? From the chefs to DJs to now I'm drawing a blank, right?
Yeah. Well, and what I'm finding is that we interview a person type. So whether you're a chef, a DJ, whether you are an executive who has ideas of doing your own thing and needs to know, well, how do I pivot from, because think about it from this standpoint. No matter where you are, there are certain people who are geared towards doing somebody else's thing. And there are those who are geared towards doing their own thing and may not necessarily know how to do it. So we fill in the gaps for those who are saying, I want to try something. I don't really quite know how to step out. And then how do I make this technology work for me? And then how do I get past those mental blocks that tell me that if I only have a person here or zero on that attendees, number up in the right-hand corner of the screen, how do I get past that and still keep on going? And so we provide those strategies, those mental shifts that let you know it doesn't really matter if nobody shows up or if somebody does show up, because we have a strategy that deals with repurposing your content, that it doesn't matter whatever's going on when you're doing the things live, because that's not where the money is. That's not where the leverage is. It's in what you do with it afterwards. So we focus in on that and then normalize that process of growth so that the individual, whoever you are, you can say, you know what, I started here and now look at what I can do with this. Yeah.
And
Harry, I wanted to talk about something real quick because you made mention of the, just all of those pieces that came together, because when you started with the DJ interview, that was not a hunch. It was something that a project that you had that you took and dusted off the digital dust. And you're like, okay, National DJs Month is June. I'm going to do this, interview a DJ one a day for the whole month. And that was going to be it. But then somewhere along the line, it normalized to where you were like, I could actually do this a little bit more because I think it's making a traction. And so then
let me correct you there. Let me correct you there.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't that I wanted to go on. Everybody else wanted me to keep going and keep doing this.
True. True.
because
True.
I was
Because that was the
done.
question. We're like, okay, so what are you going to do now? Because you can't just stop. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, that's what
You get
people say.
a
Yo,
little
you
bit of pressure.
cannot stop.
A little bit of pressure you got. Yes, absolutely.
I was pressured. My arm was in the
Yeah.
back.
I
I
think
was
we had some
pressured.
pitchforks and stuff saying, okay, you are doing this, right?
DJ interview.
Yeah.
DJ
Yeah.
interview.
So now, and this is what I really want to point out though, is that the concepts that you had, the concepts that I had, that everybody had their concepts and they weren't fully developed. They were ideas. And I
Mhm.
think this is the point of it. We had ideas that we ended up developing organically. It wasn't about the numbers, like, okay, can you get, hundreds of thousands of listeners and all that. It was, what does this concept look like? Let's test it out. So this is really more of a proof of concept mission, if anything.
Mhm.
And so then because of that, we didn't go and put it together like if we were going to do something corporate. Okay, you have to have these things in
Right.
order, line this up, make sure you got the website and all that. It's like, none of these things had all of that stuff to begin with. DJ interview, you got the website, what was it, just a few days after or before you started? I mean, it was somewhere in there. I don't even remember when it was just like, okay,
I
let me
don't
get
even.
that.
I don't even remember, but it wasn't. It wasn't even in my thought to have it. It wasn't in
Exactly.
my thought to build a community. And
Exactly.
again, that's what this is for, because we unknowingly started building communities,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it, to me, like Jason said, it's not about numbers. It's about the quality of people who watch this. All you need
Mm-hmm.
is that one right person
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to um, to say, hey, I like what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Come over here. We can get a
Mm-hmm.
bigger audience. And that has happened to us how many times, Jason?
Wow. You know what? It's hard to count because it always happened. It
Yes.
always happened. And I think the thing is that in the midst of that, we get really curious inside of our conversations. We
Hmm.
don't have a script when it comes. We do have a template now, and that is because we need to now keep it within a 90-minute window.
Right.
But we don't have a script. We have curiosity and a desire for folks to tell their stories. On DJ
Hmm.
interview, they're telling their stories. Harry doesn't have a script with them. He's asking them questions, and they're talking about history and their career and their idea, their take on what they're doing. On Mastering Your Media, same thing. It's like, okay, so tell us the stuff that you haven't been allowed to say because you may only have like a 2.5 minute soundbite if you're on the news, or maybe you weren't on the news and you don't really know what your talking points are. So let's
Hmm.
flesh that out. So it becomes a platform to help blossom a person into telling their story effectively and impacting their world because they have something unique to bring to their space. So that's what we tend to tap into. What is that thing about you that has caused you to step into this arena, and what is keeping you there? What transformation are you making without necessarily saying what transformation are you making? We're just talking, and the transformation ends up coming out in the midst of the conversation.
Yes, yes, yes. How many times have we heard, I've never told that story to anybody? Many, many,
Yo,
many times.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
I think we
yeah.
both have a way of making people comfortable so they can
Hmm.
tell their story. Like one of the
Hmm.
last DJ interviews Jason is talking about, we actually seen this guy get on a comfort level on the interview. And it
Yes.
was like, you seen that too? I mean, from going
Yeah.
from, camera struck, because mind you guys, I don't know how many of you know about music, but DJs are the one that play the music in the background, and they're never asked to be interviewed. So none of them are. So of the 95 that I have now, I'd say 89 of them have never been interviewed before.
Hmm.
And to get on that comfort level to not be afraid of the camera and tell your story. This is all about you. It's not about me talking about, yeah, the DJ interview and I had this guest. No, it's about
Right.
you. And that's how we approach the Mastering Your Media too. It is about you. We're asking questions that we think and want to know the audience. We think that the audience wants to say.
Yeah. And I think that, where that's concerned is that when we just took the constraints off and said it doesn't have to look like anything other than what it is, let's just feel it out right now. All of our projects, we said we're gonna. What was that thing that Kristen, y'all came up with? And not that it was an original thought, but it was an original thought inside of our space, which is done is better than perfect.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
We kind of adopted that around the 2019 time frame.
Yeah.
Because it's I've built courses. I'm a course creator too, who's now just put out a course earlier this year, which is still on Groupon. But
Which
prior to that,
brilliant to begin with.
Say again.
It is. I say, which I thought was brilliant to begin with.
Yes.
Coming up with the, because it's like, what do you do to stand out?
Yes.
Sometimes you can do something just simply to stand out just because, and that makes it that much more fun.
Definitely. And if to finish my thought, it was courses that I've made prior to that I never put out because oh, Erica, I don't know the name of the course right now. That's a shame, right? I think it was some live streaming confidence builder. So something I'll get it for you.
Something like that.
But prior to that, because I was nervous, I was fearful of putting my own stuff out, thinking it wasn't good enough. I never put it out. Could you imagine how much money some of us have wasted? I mean, not wasted, but not made.
Right.
Because we were fearful of not putting a product out. And this is where this done is better than perfect came in, because I did a Google My Business course and all you guys loved it, but I heard something in the sound to where, it just irked me. I'm not putting it out.
Right. Yeah. And we all tend to have to push each other off the ledge, which is why, one of the principles that I would say, you have to surround yourself with a quality network of people. When we all mastermind, because Harry, Chris, myself, Seth, we will all get together and it is a very safe space. Okay. Each and every one of us is brilliant in our own lane. And so what we do is we bring that brilliance to the table and we're like, okay, look, working on this thing right here. What are your thoughts? What am I missing? So we throw it out there and we don't have concerns with, somebody's going to run off and steal our stuff. We have a great, community there where that's concerned. And so we can freely bring things to the table and get out all of the tools to break it apart, to put it together properly. So you want to have that kind of collective. If you've not built a network like that, I'm going to tell you that is invaluable. You need a network like that so that you have the right people who will push you off the ledge when you need to. Because trust me, if you are a perfectionist, my background, I came from Time Warner. I cut my teeth there. So there's no way that we would have put something out there that wasn't technically perfect. So my challenge to myself was, let me put something out there without editing it, without having to polish it, without doing anything other than flipping the camera on and going live. So each one of us had our own personal challenge that we were bringing ourselves through when we went through the challenge. Some of us will sit there, like I was one of them, and I will edit until I think, okay, everything is perfect.
Yes.
But then that's 5 months later. 5 months later, you need to have the thing out. So challenge was go live. So what challenge do you have and what network do you have to support yourself in that? So, this is one of the things that I wanted to throw out there so that you have one thing to take away right now. Network. Get yourself a network, a community of people.
Yes.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yes. The networking part of it. Y'all call me the connector because I just love connecting people. And I like
Yeah.
when people connect me with other people. The reason why we got on this, I believe, and Erica, you correct me, is because we were testing out a live streaming software, and she came on and started watching us. Now our tests are 3-4 hours, so to watch, even a good 15 minutes of it, of us just clicking buttons and talking about what we can do with this is a task. But it's not for anybody. It's to going live and let's see what this thing can do. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Eric. How's it going, man?
Gentlemen, fantastic presentation. I'll be short because the stories are amazing and your wisdom definitely spot on. A lot of people are asking, okay, great, network, but where do I go to network effectively and efficiently? And like yourselves, we found Clubhouse, and Clubhouse really promoted us. So can you talk a little bit more? Maybe some of the audience members aren't familiar with what Clubhouse can do and how powerful it is to build your organic audience. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about your experiences with it and how it can help them. Thank you. I'll take it offline.
All
Okay,
right.
you know what?
Thank
Let me
you.
jump in real quick, Harry, because I think that
Yeah.
there's something that needs to happen before thinking of even a platform, before networking, and that is you have to structure yourself internally. You have to know what you're in it for. Because sometimes we will look at the platform like, okay, well, it's Clubhouse that's going to do it, or it's Facebook, or Instagram. And that's not really the case totally, because any platform, and I mean any platform, you can do a
Done right. Yeah.
and right, yeah. So you have to know, what are you doing on that platform? When I'm on Clubhouse, my initial thing was, let me see what this thing is all about. And then it was about, okay, where can I add value? It wasn't, what can I get from this platform? I'm like, hey, let me see if I find my people here. And so going into different rooms, I mean, for the first 6 to 9 months, that's all I was doing, was going to different communities, and where I found an area where I could pour in, I would pour in. I'd, raise my hand, go on stage. Sometimes I would hear stuff on there that I'm like, that's not really how that works. And if people take that information that the expert just gave, they're going to really mess themselves up. So I kind of felt like it was my obligation to go in and say, okay, let me add this to the equation so that maybe you can have a, because you have some experts and they'll talk to people from where they're at.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you can do that. You can just say, okay, I'm just going to go live. And then I had 100,000 people, but you took time to build that. What about this person right here who was just starting out and they're still finding their voice? So our aim is, find your voice because you know what you're bringing. And if you don't know what you're bringing, start to flesh that out, walk it out, because it will come eventually. And when you are operating authentically, you will start to attract the people who resonate with that, who are like, yeah, I like that. And next, you start to build your community from that standpoint. Okay, go ahead, bro.
Yep. Now, excuse me, swinging around to the 100 live stream, that was what I was doing, exactly what Eric asked, finding my footing, finding my community. And I just started on Facebook, and then I started streaming to a couple of other different places, your Twitters, your Twitches, your YouTubes, just to find out. The 100 live stream was a bunch of random videos that I put up to see what I'm good at and what I like doing.
Right.
And I quickly figured out I like the interview style because I like talking to people. A lot of those I did on my own. And, me, I'm a direct person. So
Mhm.
my answers are short. But in that 100 live videos, I gave myself a stipulation. I have to do more than 10 minutes.
Right.
And it was, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up. It was hard for me at first because I'm so direct. I like giving out information and getting out of there
Hmm.
and not being long winded. So I had to teach myself that. And then I was like, you know what? I really do like the interview style. So now I found my footing. And being that I was going live so much, you talking about between 4 and 8 times a day.
Hey, yes.
People started to notice, like, yo, every time I click Facebook on, you're on live.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they would start to watch and watch. And that, a part of the question that Eric just answered for the asked for the audience is how you start to build your community. People will find you.
Mhm.
And then, like Jason stated, he went to Clubhouse. Clubhouse was Apple. I'm an Apple hater initially. So I got an Apple phone, and
Use it
Jason
as a
brought.
doorstop, don't you? A coaster or something. You're very disparaging. I don't even know how we're friends, but you know,
I know.
you know.
So, Jason brought me on, and initially it was just to view. Like I
Mhm.
said, I looked at Clubhouse, but I was only on maybe once a week when we did when he did the Mastering Your Meter at first, and then I would come on and just talk my 3 seconds of wisdom and then get out of there. And then it turned into 5 seconds. Then it
Right.
turned into a minute.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm co-producer now of the
Right.
show.
Right.
We're interviewing people, but we've had an audience mastering your media, and I don't even think we've been on Clubhouse in a while in our own
Right.
group.
It's true.
But that thing ended up getting almost 1,000 people to join,
Yeah,
or,
it's at
or more.
1.8, yeah, 1.8 thousand,
Yeah,
and this has not even been with any marketing really, you know.
no marketing.
Just a quick
My
invite.
my DJ interview group, and I ain't scared to tell my numbers. My DJ
Hmm.
interview group just hit 200 people
Hmm.
uh, about 2 weeks ago, as of the airing of this
Right.
episode.
And Harry,
Thank,
let me
thank you,
throw this
Eric.
in there. So
Yes,
here it is. And this is why it's important not to look at the numbers because the numbers will deceive you. The numbers
yes.
will deceive you. And I would go into Clubhouse and, I would hear people talking about, oh, yeah, I've got 10,000 followers, this, that, and the other. Look, I knew a lady who had 2.5 million followers or direct connects text message wise,
Mm,
zero sales. So here it is. He just broke 200 in his community, but he's been interviewing DJs all over the world for like 2 years. So if he paid attention to numbers instead of what is really important, he wouldn't be doing DJ interview and he would not
for
be
real.
impacting DJs from all over the world, all over the world.
Sometimes those numbers are heartbreaking.
Right.
It's a gift and a curse that when you're in a platform, whether it's OneStream, whether it's Wave.video, and you
Hmm.
see the people on there that's live, and sometimes that
Hmm.
number says zero, it
Hmm.
is heartbreaking. But eventually teach yourself to don't worry about that number.
Yeah.
People will come and watch the replay.
Hmm.
Yes.
And on
Ellison,
top of
the
that,
numbers matter
you
if
know,
there are people.
yeah, and I've always said that I would sooner go for the minimum that has the maximum than
Hmm.
going for the maximum that does the minimum. And by that, I mean this. You could have a boatload of numbers, but they could be the wrong people because they may not be the decision makers inside of your space.
Yes.
Okay. Or you could have 5 key people who are over various industries who says, like these guys, let's bring them in. And they control or influence 1 million people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you understand it from that perspective, then what you do, you are doing things not for the entertainment, not for the look of the build, but the actual build. And the actual build looks like this. I am going to get in front of the key people inside of these spaces who move masses instead of spinning your wheels and grinding away, doing things. And I don't want to say, and forgive me, I'm just going to spit it out, doing stupid things. Okay. And stupid meaning like not disparaging on the person. It is disparaging the hamster wheel that we are told we have to be on to make something work. The fact of the matter is that your job is to understand the value that you bring to your space and then bring that and then let the numbers grow the way that they will, but focus
Yes.
on the value. Harry and I talked, for weeks on this. If we put it all together on how many programs are out there that you buy, you spend $1,000, $2,000 on. And those programs, they give you a lot of fluff, but they don't really show you how to do stuff. So
Yep.
we committed to, look, when we have people in our space, let's get the how down so that they understand I can do this. And I can do this not because I keep on, oh, did you want tires with that car? Did you want air in those tires? Did you want an engine in that vehicle? Okay, did you want gas? Okay, let's not do that. Okay, we both know you came here to get this information to build yourself or your business. So now, how do we make sure that we put the information out there in a way that is going to impact you so that you can move on something right then and there? Now, you're not going to get everything all at once. That would be unrealistic, but you will get information that lets you know I am going in the right direction. And these guys are telling me the truth on this. You may not like how the truth sounds, but we're going to tell you the truth so you can make a decision. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was pointing out what Eric said. He said value is crucial. How many in-person and virtual events we attended that lack value,
Exactly.
and 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 to be fair with some of those people, everybody is a little different.
Right.
So the situation, how am I wording this? The individual dictates the situation that you explain stuff. Some people learn slower, some people learn faster. Some people like me, I'm more visual
Mhm.
than anything. Show me.
Mhm.
Show me what you're doing. Show me where you're going. Show me the sites you're doing, and then I'll pick it up.
Right.
But don't just say, go build the audience or go get your autoresponder together.
Right.
Which one?
Right.
How do you even set it up? How you set the form up on your website?
Mhm.
What's
Mhm.
what is an autoresponder?
Mhm. Mhm.
Some people don't know. And I forget that a lot of people still don't know about Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is an audio platform that kind of got popularity when about 2000-ish,
Yeah, to
2001.
around 2020, I think is when it really started getting traction. Then it fell off for a lot, and then it kind of picked back up. During the pandemic, when the shutdown happened, is when it really skyrocketed.
Yeah,
Because
everything skyrocketed though.
everything. I mean, look at what Zoom did. Goodness.
Yeah,
Wish I had
Zoom,
started Zoom at the time.
Facebook, YouTube, everybody skyrocketed.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
NFTs really helped Clubhouse research. Nice.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that, when you find your niche, you're going to find that there are always going to be those pockets of people that can actually really increase your profits. And it doesn't have to be that the platform itself could be quote unquote garbage, but you may find your pocket of people in there. And that is really what you're looking for, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I were to boil it all down to this, it doesn't really matter. You just have to pick the platform and then find your people, add your value so that people want to be around you and they give you the time of day when you do open your mouth. And then once that takes place, you can kind of circulate to any of the platforms. You just have to, put a little time at task in there and then, build your following, build your network. And so,
Yeah.
and to Eric's question on the network building thing, when you get the first part, what Harry and I just talked about, then when it comes to building an authentic network, it's easy because you got the fundamentals down. Too many people, though, have it opposite. They try to build a network without adding any value or without knowing what value looks like when they hear it.
Yeah.
So they go for the numbers and then they get spun by people who are saying, hey, you know what, you can get 10 million followers by next week. And they're like, 10 million followers, that's what I need. And then they run out to do the 10 million followers and it does not do anything for the bank account or the business. Let's see.
Yes, Zakia. Yes.
Let's read this out for those who are just hearing in audio. Okay, the interesting thing to see, this is Zakia Ringgold. The interesting thing to see now is which tech solutions can maintain that momentum beyond the pandemic. I would assume those who focused on building community will probably fare well, while others may fizzle out. Yeah.
Yep.
That would surprise me.
Definitely. And everybody's community building is a little different. Mine's,
Right.
I didn't build, I hate to say it, but I didn't build it at all. It helped build itself.
Yeah.
People just started. I never on none of my interviews say, like and subscribe this and that. People just do it.
Mhm.
And I know you're supposed to, because people sometimes need that call to action,
Mhm.
but I didn't, and it still built itself. Now,
Mhm.
could it have went faster? Yes. If I was like, hey, if you're on Facebook, follow me. If you're on YouTube, like and
Mhm.
subscribe. If you're on
Mhm.
Twitter, and that's one of the things when you're live streaming to multiple different places.
Right.
So pick, like Jason was saying, pick a lane,
Mhm.
and whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, and start there. Just
Mhm.
start going live on your personal page and see who you start to attract.
Mhm.
And depending on what you're talking about, like Zakia, she's a master soap maker.
Mhm.
So I'm sure she started going into other groups and following other groups about soap. So I follow a lot of DJ groups. I follow a lot of music groups. My genre of music is disco and
Mhm.
dance music. That's my favorite.
Mhm.
And I go in there, and then you start to find your community, because you are a part of one now. You get to see how these things run. It's not easy, doing your shows that as we're doing, and then attempting to fulfill the community too.
Right.
It's not easy. I hear people want to build one, but it's not easy.
Mhm.
So
And you know what, bro? And
yeah,
here's another thing is that in that push to be authentic, you really have to know what it is for you, because too many times we've got these arbitrary rules that people say when you're doing a community, build a community, you got to do this and that and the other. And the
yeah,
fact of the matter is, I didn't go by any of that stuff. When I was doing Periscope, they're like, look, 5-10 minutes, do a scope and get out there. I would do 5-hour scopes because I'm like, look, I'm going to cook some frittatas here. I'm going to talk about business. If you have a business question, then I'm going to cook and we can talk about business. We can talk about food, whatever you want to talk about. So I'm hanging out. My children are in the background doing their thing. They're hearing family life happen. They're hearing homeschooling going on and all of that. And I just was determined for me that this platform is going to be what I do with it, not the other way around. I'm not going to be driven by a platform because it goes against my freedom model, right? So, they say you got to polish up this way. I'm like, well, I'm coming on in a t-shirt with a beard, okay? They say, there you go, And I think that when you are bold enough to make it your own, then people get to see you and determine if they want to hang around with you. When I meet people in person that I interacted with online, the common statement is, oh, wow, you're just like how you are on whatever platform. I'm like, yeah, I'm still gonna be me. So if you can own your space like that, then you will build community, and it won't be something that you now are being driven by your community. There you go. Exactly. So
people used to talk about my afro and at the beginning.
What? But what about all the iterations? All the iterations of your hair.
It was short, it was long. Sometimes I have braids, sometimes I have a full beard. I change my appearance every couple of weeks. And it's okay. Like Jason is pointing at, be comfortable with you first. Because, I'm glad of my afro because a lot of people lost that privilege years ago to grow hair.
But yeah, just saying.
So I'm glad, and those spots, anywhere, it is real,
right?
Oh man, but we coming up at the top of the hour. Let's take some questions. Before we talk for the next 6 hours, and we got an interview set up in about another hour and a half,
give or take. Yeah,
give or take.
I would say this though, as we're waiting for the questions to pop in, be a geek about your stuff. I mean, really love your stuff, because the thing is that when you are a geek about your own thing, then you're going to drive it regardless of whatever anybody else is doing. And that passion for what you're doing and the depth that you go with it, you become that encyclopedia where you are the go-to person in your space. So if you can dare to be that geek, and you can dare to be, whether it's a techie or a non-techie who just really is about your stuff. Like, don't get me talking about food. I will hold my own with any of the other chefs out there. I'm serious. So the thing is that when you dive deep. Don't operate out of fear, like, oh, well, don't have time to go there, because that depth, let me tell you this. I'll tell you this, and then we're going to open it up. That depth that you take it to goes beyond your initial audience. You have multiple segments of your audience. You've got your direct buyers. You've got your collaborators, you've got your competitors, which actually become your barometer in your space. You've got your policymakers. Can't forget your policymakers, because you can impact your space to the depth that the policymaker says, we need to shift their policy because of what this person just did. I have 2 people that we interviewed who are doing that thing. They consult the FTC and the FCC. The BBB, right? Because of the impact that they've made inside of their arenas. So when you show up like that, then those key 5 people say, we need to put them on our platform to do a training for our industry. Talk about credibility now, okay? So in mastering your media, you are delving in and you're committing to the process in order to make sure that the impact that you make in your space is one that the masses aren't talking about. It's the few that govern the masses. So I just wanted to leave you with that. Really be intentional and geeky about it. All right.
Okay.
But Erica, before you start, I want to thank you and just one last thing. I don't want to up Jason, but just one last thing on networking. We came onto this platform as an invite from Erica, as I said, from, watching our stuff and eventually watching us individually.
Yes.
And she asked us to be on here. That doesn't happen if we're not on doing something else already.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
thank you for
And we were being a
bringing.
geek about it.
Yeah, pretty
Because
much.
Harry said, "Hey Jay, let's run through this this platform right here." He says, "Yeah, come on, let's kind of run through it, okay?" Oh, okay. When Erica jumped on, we all start talking. I think that was a 4 hour
Hmm.
conversation, you
Yeah.
know. And so just in line with the title of the talk today, building out your platforms from concept. Okay, so we cover the concept, the idea. We dusted off the digital dust off the ideas and then launched them to reach. So now once we say, hey, this is a thing, let's now give it more space. Then from reach to conference, the conference is now how do you take that and then start to build out your community around that information, the topic, and you are pulling in and giving out information at the same time. You create a highway for that. And then to cash flow. How do you take that and monetize it? And then you can monetize it in a number of different ways, from being a consultant to creating content around it to opening up doors and spaces where you can input based on the knowledge and your geekness of that topic. There's your cash flow. And then that cash flow, you can extract from it through a repurposing strategy where you can start to extract based on layers. You can teach principles and frameworks around it. And the frameworks is intellectual property that you can license. So all of those things can be wrapped up in just starting with the concept that you are willing to take steps on and start to build around. All right, there you go.
You see, we could just keep going and keep going because we bootleg over each other. So we gonna
Oh,
take some questions. Again, thank you, Erica, for the invite.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said, I like being around brilliant people. So the more brilliant people I get to be around, it's better for me. So thank you guys. I
You
knew this
mean
was going to
Jason?
be great. You guys really helped me understand the title of building out your platforms from concept to reach to conference to cash flow. Because, like you said, Jason, it doesn't make any sense if you have millions of followers, but you're not having any sales.
hello.
And how Harry said, if you have a product that your people like, go ahead and put it out because that's what your people want.
Mm-hmm.
And you both said you need an audience. You need to be around your people. I like
Exactly.
that. So I wanted to come on and say, everyone who is watching via live stream, we're about to cut this off. If you want to hang out with the Virtual Summiteers Mastermind Group, we meet every Friday at 10 a.m. You want to meet more cool, awesome, brilliant people like Jason and Harry, you are more than welcome to come hang out, network, and join our group. But right now, we are about to move to Fluid Spaces here in Airmeet, so we can talk to Harry and Jason on a more personal level. So we're about to cut you guys off. And everybody else, we're going to move to Fluid Spaces.